My heart stops when I lift the leather travel folder. Too light. All wrong. I flip through the meticulously organized sections: visa paperwork, scholarship documents, program acceptance letter, flight itinerary, but the navy blue passport sleeve gapes empty. The walls of my bedroom close in. 72 hours until my flight to Paris. I dump the contents of my backpack onto my desk, rifling through every pocket. Nothing. I yank open my dresser drawers, scattering carefully folded clothes. Nothing. Under the mattress, behind the bookshelf, inside my shoes. Maybe this is God's way of telling you to stay home. Mallory leans against my doorframe, arms crossed over her chest. The corners of her mouth twitch upward. The pieces click into place. Every accident over the years. My ruined science fair project before nationals. The bleached prom dress. College acceptance letters that vanished until the deadlines passed. Where is it? My voice comes out steady, calmer than the stampede of my heart. Where's what? Mallory widens her eyes, the picture of innocence she's perfected since kindergarten. Did you lose something important? You should be more careful with your things, Dana. The same words Mom and Dad always use. You should be more careful. You're so careless with your belongings. Everything's a drama with you. I want to grab her shoulders and shake the truth out of her. Instead, I turn back to my desk, methodically returning items to my backpack. You're right. I'll check downstairs. The scent of pot roast drifts up the stairs as I follow Mallory to the dining room. Mom hums while she sets the table, deliberately placing the fork tines down the way she learned at charm school. Dad adjusts Mallory's latest debate trophy on the shelf, carefully centering it among her collection. My single academic achievement certificate hangs in the laundry room, half hidden behind the ironing board. Dana's lost her passport, Mallory announces as she slides into her chair. Mom's hands pause over the napkins. Oh, honey, what did you do with it? I kept it in my travel folder. The words scrape my throat, where it's been for weeks. Well, clearly you didn't. Mom shakes her head. You know how scattered you get when you're excited. Dad sits at the head of the table, folding his hands for grace. Probably a blessing, if you ask me. This whole Paris scheme seems rather hasty. Hasty, the word burns. I've been planning this for months. The Youth Forum scholarship. Yes, we know. Mom waves her hand. But really, Dana, what kind of future is there in international policy? Mallory's pre-law track is much more sensible. My sister preens. I stare at my plate, seeing other plates, other dinners. Science fair results met with, but did you help your sister with her project? Perfect SAT scores dismissed with, testing isn't everything, dear. Early graduation announcement overshadowed by Mallory, making her the cheerleader. The scholarship letter burns in my memory. $85,000, 18 months in Paris. Freedom. My fingers curl around my napkin as I remember the February morning I read those words, alone in my room while the house slept. The quiet joy of reviewing program details between classes. Late night calls with Marcus, planning every detail of my escape route. The backup passport, hidden in my Bible since January. Maybe you're right. I cut a small bite of pot roast. Maybe I should pray about it. Mom and Dad exchange pleased looks. Mallory's shoulders relax. After dinner, I retreat to my room and close the door. My phone buzzes with a text from Marcus. Everything okay? You missed the youth group. I slide my Bible from the shelf, fingers finding the hollow I carved into its pages. The backup passport sits exactly where I left it, untouched. Plan Omega is a go, I text back. Then I sit on my bed, the backup passport in my lap, and trace my fingers over the embossed cover. My family thinks they know meth quiet daughter, the obedient sister, the one who always gives in. But they don't know about the phone calls to the passport office in January, explaining about frequent international travel. They don't know about the careful documentation of every accident, every sabotage, every dismissal. They don't know that sometimes the most dangerous people are the ones who smile while they clip your wings. They don't know that I've finally learned to fly anyway. 71 hours until my flight. I tuck the passport back into its hiding place and begin to pack. The alarm on my phone reads 2 a.m., I silence it before the first note finishes. My fingers know this dance by heart. 3 months of practice runs have trained them well. The house breathes around me, settling sounds mixing with Dad's distant snores. My duffel bag waits beneath the bed, already packed with necessities weighed and measured like evidence. No sentimentality allowed. Each item chosen for survival. The loose floorboard under the window slides free without protest. Inside lies a stack of babysitting money, earned $1 at a time while watching the pastor's kids. $2,340, folded in crisp hundreds. The irony of earning my escape by being the perfect church daughter doesn't escape me. My wallet sits open on the desk. Mom's Christmas photo smiles up at me, hair arm around Mallory's shoulders, Dad beaming at them both. The space where I should be stands empty because I was too slow getting ready for the photographer. I slide the photo out, watching their faces disappear into the trash bin. The note takes longer than it should. How do you compress a lifetime of calculated cruelty into a single sentence? My pen hovers over the paper until the right words surface. I know what you did. I've always known. The truth, finally spoken. I leave it centered on my pillow. The curtains part without a sound. The night wraps around me like a blanket as I lower my duffel to the ground with practiced movements from a dozen silent rehearsals. The bag lands with a muffled thump in Mom's prized hydrangeas. I quietly leave the house. I am out, headed towards my freedom. A car idles at the opposite of the street, headlights dark. Marcus slouches against the hood. His sister's Honda, a getaway car borrowed without permission. His shoulders straighten when he spots me. "You're sure about this?" he whispers, taking my bag. I pull the backup passport from inside my jacket. They took the original, just like we knew they would. Damn. He shakes his head, jaw tight. I mean, we figured, but still. They've had lots of practice. The words taste bitter. I hand him the folder of documents, visa paperwork, scholarship acceptance, flight details. All the pieces they tried to sabotage, now safely duplicated. Remember when Mallory spilled bleach on your prom dress? Marcus loads my bag into the trunk. Your mom said you must have left the bottle too close to the fabric. And my science fair project that fell off the shelf the night before nationals. My fingers curl into fists. The shelf Mallory helped Dad install that morning. The shelf that was mysteriously tilted. Marcus slams the trunk. You know what kills me? If they'd put half that energy into supporting you instead of stopping you. A light flicks on upstairs. Through the bathroom window, Mallory's face appears, mouth opening in a perfect O of surprise. Dana? Her shriek shatters the night. Dad! Mom! She's leaving! My feet move before my brain catches up. I dive into the passenger seat as lights burst to life in my parents' room. The screen door bangs open. Dad's voice booms from the porch. Dana Elizabeth Whitaker. Marcus guns the engine as Dad's footsteps thunder down the front steps. The tires spin on gravel as we peel away, his shouts fading into the Kentucky night. 2 hours later, I am at the airport. The airport terminals buzz with early morning energy. I clutch my ticket like a lifeline, the words, Paris, France, swimming before my eyes. My first time flying. My first time leaving the state. My first time choosing my own path. The scholarship details blur as I read them again. European Youth Forum speaker. 18 months of freedom. The phone in my pocket vibrates with another call from home. My thumb hovers over the green button. Just to explain. Just to make them understand. But they never wanted to understand. They wanted to clip my wings and call it protection. Call it love. Call it God's will. After an hour and a half, we are ready to take off. I power off the phone as the plane's engines roar to life. Through the window, Kentucky falls away beneath me, growing smaller until it vanishes into clouds. In my mind, I see the note on my pillow. 5 words that took 19 years to write. I know what you did. I've always known. The truth set loose at last, written in the language of empty rooms and missing daughters. Sometimes silence speaks louder than screams. Almost 12 hours later, Paris greets me in a symphony of unfamiliar sounds. French flows around me like water, beautiful and incomprehensible. I follow the crowd through customs, clutching my passport, the one they never found. the one that carried my dreams to safety. A woman with silver-streaked hair holds a sign, Dana Whitaker, European Youth Forum. Her smile crinkles the corners of her eyes. "We've been looking forward to meeting you," she says, extending her hand. "I'm Renee, your mentor. Your essay was remarkable." The word hits like sunlight after storms. Remarkable. Not dramatic. Not difficult. Not too much. Just remarkable. My fingers relax their death grip on the passport. For the first time in years, my smile feels real, unguarded, free. I step into my new life without looking back. The old Dana died somewhere over the Atlantic, scattered like ashes in the jet stream. This version of me belongs to no one but herself. And she knows exactly who she is. What would you pack if you had to leave your old life behind in just a few hours? Share your escape essentials in the comments below. 2 hours later, the conference center's marble floors swallow my footsteps as I follow the crowd into orientation. Flags from 30 nations ripple overhead, their shadows dancing across faces that span every shade of human experience. A girl with elaborate henna patterns spiraling up her arms catches my eye and waves. I wave back, then sink into an empty chair near the middle of the room. I almost missed my flight because my whole family insisted on coming to the airport. The boy next to me laughs, his Australian accent wrapping around each word. My gran kept stopping to buy snacks for the journey. You know how families are. I don't correct him. Instead, I pull out my orientation packet and pretend to study the schedule while conversations bloom around me like wildflowers after rain. Stories of tearful airport goodbyes. Videos of younger siblings waving from car windows. Photos of care packages stuffed with hometown treats. A hand touches my shoulder. Renee stands beside my chair, her silver hair caught in the morning light streaming through tall windows. "Everything all right?" Her voice carries the slight lilt of her native Quebec. "Fine." The word comes out sharper than I intended. I soften it with a small smile, just taking it all in. Her eyes hold mine a moment longer than necessary. She nods once, then moves to the podium. The room quiets as she welcomes us, her words painting pictures of the opportunities ahead. My pen moves across my notebook, capturing every detail until she says something that stops my breath. "Each of you will share a brief introduction. Tell us what drives you to serve in international policy." The microphone passes from hand to hand. Stories flow like water, tales of village schools without resources, cities choking on pollution, communities torn by conflict. The Australian boy speaks about his Aboriginal grandmother's fight for land rights. The Hina girl describes teaching coding to refugee children. Then the microphone reaches my row. My fingers curl around the smooth metal. The weight of 60 pairs of eyes settles on my face. I open my mouth, ready to recite my prepared speech about youth civic engagement statistics. But different words emerge. In my hometown, they say a woman's highest calling is to serve her family. My voice trembles, then steadies. They don't tell you that sometimes family can become a cage. That love can be shaped into chains, link by link, until you can't spread your wings without hearing metal scrape against metal. The room holds its breath. Even the flags stop dancing. I'm here because I believe service to humanity starts with recognizing the humanity in ourselves, with the understanding that we can't lift others if we're not allowed to stand at our full height. Silence follows my words. Then soft applause builds into a wave. Renee's eyes shine as she takes the microphone, but she pauses before passing it to the next student. "Miss Whitaker, I'd like you to consider speaking at the Strasbourg Forum next month." I nod and smile. After the orientation, we came to our dormitory and I fell asleep. The next few days, my phone was filled with numerous voicemails. Mom's voice drips with carefully crafted concern. "Sweetheart, this rebellion has gone far enough. What will people think?" One Thursday evening, Mallory's texts pop up like poison mushrooms after rain. "Everyone's talking about how you abandoned the family. Pastor Mike mentioned you in his sermon about the prodigal son. The church ladies form a digital chorus. Honor thy father and mother, it's not too late to come home." My thumb hovers over the block button. A knock at my door saves me from deciding. Emma stands in the hallway, 2 cups of tea sending lazy spirals of steam into the air. "Rough day?" She doesn't wait for an answer, just walks in and sets 1 cup on my desk. My mom always says tea fixes everything. She's wrong about a lot of things, but not that. I wrap my hands around the warm ceramic. Thanks. She curls up in my desk chair, somehow making the awkward pose look elegant. Want to talk about it? Or we could plan our presentation for Professor Laurent's class. He said our analysis of the Kosovo situation was surprisingly insightful. Coming from him, that's practically a marriage proposal. A laugh bubbles up, unexpected as a spring in the desert. Let's do the presentation. Days blur into weeks. Study groups become family dinners in the dormitory kitchen, 6 languages tangling over pasta and politics. Professor Laurent asks me to be his research assistant after I challenge his position on education reform. The other scholarship recipients create a WhatsApp group called Policy Wonks Anonymous, where we share terrible puns about international relations at midnight. And Renee. She never mentions my orientation speech, but doors open. Introductions are made. My voice grows stronger with each opportunity to speak. Until the day I stand before the International Policy Forum, my notes steady in my hands. The audience includes ambassadors, NGO directors, policymakers whose books fill my shelf. I should feel small. Instead, I fill my lungs with air that tastes like freedom. The future of civic engagement lies not in top-down initiatives, I begin, but in recognizing the power of individual voices, especially those that have been systematically silenced. Heads nod. Pens move across notepads. No one is waiting for me to fail. When the applause fades and the moderator calls for questions, hands shoot up across the auditorium. They want to know more. They want to hear my thoughts. After the presentation, my phone buzzes in my pocket. A news alert from the Meadowbrook Herald. Local student addresses European Policy Forum. I click it off without reading further. The question isn't whether I would succeed. It's whether I'd allow my past to define my future. Looking out at the sea of attentive faces, I already know the answer. 2 months later, the headline caught me off guard during my morning coffee ritual at Café Saint-Germain. Small-town student addresses European Forum, splashed across the Meadowbrook Herald's website. Marcus sent the link at 3 a.m. Paris time, followed by a string of exclamation points. My phone buzzes with a text from Emma. Your hometown paper found you. She slides into the chair across from me, pushing a fresh croissant my way. The comments section is wild. I scan the article, my stomach tightening. The reporter interviewed my old AP history teacher, who praised my remarkable intellectual gifts and wondered why such an achievement had been kept quiet. Several church members expressed shock at learning about my scholarship months after the fact. Your sister's trying damage control. Emma turns her phone screen toward me. Mallory's Instagram post appears, complete with a throwback photo from my graduation. So proud of my brilliant sister speaking at the European Forum. Always knew you'd do amazing things. Proud sister. European dreams. A bitter laugh escapes before I can stop it. 3 years ago, she'd torn up my acceptance letter to the National Merit Scholars Weekend. 2 months ago, she'd hidden my passport. My phone lights up with a new voicemail from Mom. I let it go to storage with the others. 6 from her, 4 from Dad, 13 from our pastor. The latest church message warned about the troubling patterns they'd noticed in my family's behavior toward me. A text from Marcus pops up. Youth groups in chaos. Pastor Williams removed Mallory from the assistant role after 3 parents complained about her treatment of you. The words blur together. I set my phone face down, focusing on the warmth of my coffee cup against my palms. Across the street, an elderly woman arranges fresh flowers in her window box. The simple certainty of her movements anchors me. My laptop chimes with a new email from Mrs. Patterson, my former English teacher. The paper would love an interview about your journey to Paris. I open a reply, fingers hovering over the keys. The temptation to unload years of carefully documented sabotage burns in my throat. Instead, I type, thank you for your kind words and support during my years at Meadowbrook High. While I'm honored by the interest in my work with the European Forum, I prefer to keep the focus on the policy initiatives we're developing. Send, breathe, take another sip of coffee. Emma watches me over the rim of her cup. You're handling this with more grace than they deserve. Grace has nothing to do with it. The morning sun warms my shoulders through the cafe window. I'm not giving them the satisfaction of a public meltdown. Days later, we spent time at the same cafe, merging with other students and forming groups. One Wednesday evening, My social media notifications exploded with friend requests from distant relatives. Aunt Sarah's message stands out. "We didn't know, honey. None of us knew how they were treating you." Uncle James echoes the sentiment. "Your grandfather would have been so proud." A video call request from Mom lights up my screen. Her contact photo shows her at church, pearls perfect, smile fixed. My finger hovers over decline when a text from Marcus arrives. "You should see what's happening here. Your mom broke down during Bible study. Your dad hasn't shown his face at the golf club in weeks. Mallory's perfect daughter act is crumbling fast." I accepted the call. Mom's face fills my screen, her makeup artfully smeared to suggest tears without risking mascara trails. "Dana, sweetheart, we need to talk about this misunderstanding." "Which part is the misunderstanding?" My voice emerges calm, steady. "The sabotage science project, the bleached prom dress, the hidden passport?" "You're being dramatic again." Her smile wobbles. "We only wanted what was best for you." "No." The word rings clear in the quiet cafe. "You wanted what was easiest for you." Dad appears behind her shoulder, his usual authority undercut by the uncertainty in his eyes. "Your behavior has been very disappointing. This rebellion, these accusations?" "They're not accusations if they're true." I take a slow sip of coffee. "And it's not rebellion to build a life you tried to prevent." Mallory edges into frame, her perfect posture slightly wilted. "Maybe I was a little jealous sometimes, but that's normal for sisters." The laugh that escapes surprises me with its lightness. Normal sisters don't destroy college acceptance letters. Emma squeezes my arm in silent support. "We're your family," Mom whispers. "We miss you." The ache in my chest doesn't disappear, but it shifts into something manageable, something that no longer threatens to swallow me whole. "I miss who I needed you to be." A message from the European Forum pops up on my laptop. My Strasbourg presentation has been moved to the main auditorium due to increased registration. I have a meeting to prepare for. The lie comes easily, a small mercy. I'll send you the link to the live stream if you'd like to watch. Mom starts to protest, but I end the call. The screen dims to black, reflecting my face. The shadows under my eyes have faded since Paris. My shoulders stand straighter. Emma slides the last piece of croissant across the table. "You okay?" "No." I brush the buttery crumbs from my fingers. "But I'm getting there." My phone buzzes with another relative's message of support. Another news outlet requesting comment. Another piece of my old life trying to find its way into my new one. I open my laptop and begin typing my Strasbourg speech. They wanted a quiet daughter, a dutiful sister, an obedient shadow. They're about to meet the person I became instead. The words blur on my laptop screen at 3 a.m. in my dormitory room. I rub my eyes, the cursor blinking at the end of my opening line. Outside my dorm window, Paris sleeps under a blanket of stars, but sleep isn't an option tonight. Not with the Strasbourg speech looming tomorrow morning. "Your story deserves to be heard." I whisper the words, testing their weight on my tongue. The phrase sounds different here in the quiet dark than it did during practice runs in empty lecture halls. A notification pings. Mother's latest email sits unopened in my inbox. Its subject line, a knife twist. "Your family will be there to support you." 3 exclamation points, like little daggers. I click delete. My phone buzzes with Mallory's newest Instagram post. A throwback photo of us at her debate competition, her arm around my shoulders. The caption reads, "T-18 hours until I watch my amazing sisters speak at the European Youth Forum. Proud sister, Strasbourg strong, family first." My hands shake as I set the phone face down. Professor Laurent's feedback on my draft glows on the screen. Her comments march down the margins in green text, each one a lifeline. Powerful analysis of systemic suppression. Compelling metaphor connecting stolen passports to stolen opportunities. Your quiet strength shines through. A knock at my door startles me. Renee stands in the hallway, still in her work clothes despite the hour. One look at my face and she steps inside, closing the door. "They're coming," I whisper. "My whole family." She nods, already pulling out her tablet. "Security's been briefed. They can't access the speaker preparation areas. But they'll be in the audience, watching, waiting for me to fail." "Then don't." Renee's voice carries the same steady certainty that convinced the selection committee to add me to the speaker lineup. "Show them exactly what they tried to suppress." Morning arrives in a blur of preparation. My hands remain steady as I apply mascara, adjust my blazer, triple-check my note cards. The conference center bustles with activity, but the speaker's lounge offers blessed quiet. Through the window, I spot them. Mother in her Sunday best, father's shoulders stiff in his dress suit, Mallory's yellow dress, a beacon in the crowd. They scan the lobby like hunters seeking prey. The stage manager's voice crackles through my earpiece. 5 minutes, Miss Whitaker. I close my eyes, remembering all the times they dimmed my light. Science fair projects sabotaged, college acceptance letters hidden, a passport that vanished like smoke. The introduction begins. My name echoes through the sound system. My feet carry me toward the stage. Light floods my vision as I take my place behind the podium. 2,000 faces turn toward me. In the back row, 3 familiar figures settle into their seats, ready to witness my inevitable failure. I open my mouth. The words flow like water breaking through a dam. We talk about voices that deserve to be heard, but what about the voices that were never meant to speak at all? The ones carefully trained to stay silent, to stay small, to stay safely in their assigned boxes? The audience leans forward. Even the veteran policy experts stop checking their phones. I stood in my bedroom 3 months ago, holding an empty passport sleeve. It wasn't lost, it wasn't misplaced. It was taken by someone who loved me. Someone who showed that love by methodically dismantling every opportunity that might let me grow beyond their control. Phones rise in the audience, recording. In the back row, Mother's hand covers her mouth. But here's what they didn't know. I pull my current passport from my blazer pocket, letting it catch the stage lights. I had a backup plan. Because that's what happens when you spend years watching your achievements disappear. You learn to keep duplicates. You learn to hide your joy. You learn that sometimes the people who claim to protect you are actually clipping your wings. The words pour out, steady and sure. I map the landscape of toxic love disguised as protection, break down the psychology of family systems that feed on potential and spit out compliance. Paint a picture of young people everywhere, dreams locked behind doors they've been taught never to open. The most dangerous chains aren't made of metal. I tell them, they're made of phrases like, we know what's best, and you're not ready, and maybe this is God's way of telling you to stay home. In the back row, Mallory's perfect posture crumples. But here's what I learned in that bedroom, staring at an empty passport sleeve. Sometimes the bravest journey isn't the one that takes you farthest from home. It's the one that takes you closer to yourself. The silence when I finish feels alive. Then someone stands. Another. The applause builds like thunder. I spot tears on Mother's cheeks, Father's face ashen with recognition. Mallory stares at her hands in her lap. They've heard every word. Really heard them, maybe for the first time. Policy experts cluster at the stage stairs, waving copies of my speech. Young attendees line up to share their stories, eyes bright with recognition. Renee appears at my elbow, fielding interview requests from 3 different journalists. But I keep my eyes on that back row. On the family that tried to keep me small, now witnessing how far I've grown. Mother half rises, one hand reaching toward me. I meet her gaze across the crowded auditorium, nod once, acknowledging their presence. Then I turn to the student waiting to tell me her story, my heart finally, completely free. They thought they were protecting me by clipping my wings. They never imagined I'd learn to soar anyway. At the present, my phone buzzes against the cafe table. Another message from Marcus. Your article just went viral in international policy circles. Professor Laurent shared it everywhere. Steam rises from my coffee as I scan the comments flooding in. Words like insightful and breakthrough perspective pepper the responses. 6 months ago, I would have minimized the praise, tucked it away in that quiet corner where I used to hide my light. Now, I let it warm me like the spring sunshine spilling across my little corner of Paris. Back in my dorm room, conference badges create a colorful mosaic on the wall: Youth Policy Forum, EU Leadership Summit, International Student Congress. Each one represents a door I walked through on my own terms. Between them, Polaroids capture fragments of my new life. Emma and me cooking paella at 2 a.m., Professor Laurent's surprised smile when I challenged his theory on civic engagement, Renee raising a toast at our team dinner. The notification light on my laptop blinks. Another video call from Marcus. You look different, he says when I answer. Good difference. I touch my hair, recently cut to shoulder length. Turns out Paris has decent stylists. Not the hair. He leans closer to the screen. Your eyes, they're not checking the corners anymore. The observation strikes home. He's right. I used to constantly scan my surroundings, mapping escape routes, watching for the next accident waiting to happen. Now my gaze stays steady, focused on the horizon ahead rather than the shadows behind. My therapy journal lies open beside my laptop, today's entry still drying. The hardest part wasn't leaving, it was learning I deserved to stay gone. Doctor. Winters helped me understand the pattern how years of diminishment and coincidental sabotage shaped my instincts. Hypervigilance, she called it, a survival skill I no longer need. A text from Emma interrupts my thoughts. Hanukkah party tonight? Sarah's making latkes. 6 months ago, the winter holidays loomed like a wall of guilt. Now they're just another chance to celebrate with my chosen family. Last week, we marked the winter solstice with May's traditional Chinese dishes. Next week, Aisha's teaching us to make her grandmother's Christmas biryani. The phone rings. Mom's number. I let it go to voicemail, same as the last 6 calls. Later, I'll listen to her message something about how the house feels empty, how Dad's struggling to connect with Mallory now that his scapegoat's gone, how they're both in therapy, finally facing the mirror I held up when I left. My laptop chimes with an email notification. The subject line stops my breath. Speaking invitation, Meadowbrook College Leadership Forum. I open it slowly, scanning the details. They want me to deliver the keynote at next month's symposium. Theme: breaking barriers in rural communities. The irony would be funny if it weren't so perfect. My cursor hovers over reply as I weigh the possibilities. A year ago, this invitation would have tangled me in knots of obligation and fear. Now it feels like closing a circle. Coming home not as the daughter who fled, but as the woman who flourished. I draft my response carefully. I accept your invitation. I'll be in town that week. We can meet if you're ready to listen. The send button clicks with quiet finality. Outside my window, early spring sunlight gilds the rooftops of Paris. A young woman at the cafe across the street throws her head back laughing, reminding me of Mallory before competition warped her joy into a weapon. My new passport sits on the desk, crisp and untouched. No need to hide this one between Bible pages or behind loose floorboards. No need to guard it like the last precious key to freedom. The next day, the afternoon sun warms my face as I walk to the Youth Forum office. We're launching the Rural Scholars Initiative Me pilot program, connecting small-town students with international opportunities. 20 acceptance letters wait on my desk, ready to unlock doors for kids like me. Professor Laurent catches me in the hallway. Congratulations on the journal publication. The Extension Committee was impressed. They've approved your 2nd year of funding. I thank him, my voice steady. No more shrinking from praise or deflecting recognition. The old Dana would have immediately checked for Mallory's shadow, waiting to dim my spotlight. But that reflex died somewhere between Kentucky and Paris. Back in my room that evening, I opened my journal to a fresh page. The leather cover is soft, worn from daily use. So different from the hidden notebooks of my childhood, filled with careful documentation of each accident and dismissal. Marcus's acceptance letter to the Sorbonne exchange program sits beside my laptop. Just a coincidence, he joked in his last email, though I did check there were no spare passports lying around to steal. I smile at his gallows humor as I begin to write. They thought they locked a door, I found another, and I stepped through it without looking back. The words flow easily now, no longer weighted by fear or guilt. Outside my window, Paris hums with evening life. Somewhere in Kentucky, my family faces their quieter house, their emptier church pews, their tarnished community standing. I hope they find their way through the doors I left open to therapy, to truth, to transformation. But their journey isn't mine to manage anymore. I have my own doors to walk through, my own light to tend, and this time, no one can blow out my flame.